The station called Vethnari floated in the empty space between stars. It was old, older than most human cities. The walls were made of a smooth gray metal that seemed to glow from the inside. Ships from many worlds came here to trade, to talk, and to make deals. It was a neutral place, a safe place. At least, that was what everyone believed. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood near a large window on the third level of the station. She was 43 years old. Her hair was dark with a few silver lines near her ears. She wore the simple blue coat of a human science officer. In her hands, she held a cup of warm tea. She watched the stars outside and smiled a small, tired smile. Elena was one of only 12 humans allowed on this station. The Galactic Concordance, the big group that ruled most of the known space, had let Earth join only as an observer. That was 17 years ago. The Concordance had 847 member species. They were led by an old and proud race called the Kthra. To them, humans were new. Humans were small. Humans were not important. Elena did not mind. She loved her work. She was a scientist who studied alien life forms, and this station was full of them. Every day she learned something new. Every day she saw wonders that no human had ever seen before. She wrote long letters to her grandmother Rosa back on Earth. She wrote about the tall, glowing creatures from Silith Prime. She wrote about the small, furry traders from the Mordrin worlds. She wrote about the food, the music, and the strange plants in the station gardens. But Elena also wrote about the other things. The looks, the whispers, the way some aliens stepped away when she walked past. The human quarters were far from the main halls. Humans ate in a separate area. Humans were not allowed in certain rooms. The council species called humans Terrans, like it was a dirty word. They made jokes about human smell, human noise, human feelings. Elena wrote to her grandmother, "Abuela, they think we are animals, but I think they are just scared. Maybe one day, they will see us for who we really are." She did not know how right she was. She did not know how soon that day would come. That morning, Elena was called to a trade meeting. A big deal was being made between the humans and a group of Kthra merchants. The humans wanted to buy some old star maps. The Kthra wanted to sell them for a high price. Elena was there to help translate the scientific terms. The meeting room was tall and round. The walls were made of white stone. A large table sat in the middle. On one side sat the human team, led by Ambassador Marcus Chen. On the other side sat the Kthra group. At the head of their table sat High Adjudicator Voss Therin IX. Voss's Therin was tall. He had gray skin and 4 long arms. His eyes were deep black and set wide apart on his long face. He wore robes of silver and green. He was one of the most powerful Kthra on the station. He did not like humans. He did not hide this fact. The talks began. Prices were spoken. Numbers were written. Elena sat quietly and listened. When Voss Therin asked a question about the age of a certain star map, Elena looked up to answer him. She met his eyes. She spoke clearly and politely. "The map is from the time of your third age, Adjudicator. About 12,000 of your years." The room went silent. Voss Therin slowly stood up. His 4 arms opened wide. His black eyes burned with anger. The other Kthra around him froze. Even the guards near the wall looked tense. "You looked at me," Voss Therin said. His voice was low and cold. "You, a Terran, met my eyes. Do you know what you have done?" Elena did not understand. She looked at Ambassador Chen. Chen's face had gone pale. I am sorry," Elena said. "I did not mean to offend." "You are guilty of optical defiance," Voss Therin said. "This is a crime under Kthra law. The punishment is death." Ambassador Chen stood up fast. "Adjudicator, please." She did not know. "We were never told of this rule. Let us speak to the council. We will apologize. We will pay any price." But Voss Therin was already moving. From his robe, he pulled out a thin silver rod, a neural lance, a weapon that killed with one touch. Under the right of correction, Voss Therin said, "No trial is needed. No price can be paid. The Terran must be corrected." Elena stood up. She looked at Chen. Her hands were shaking. "Marcus," she said. "Tell my grandmother." She did not finish. Voss Theron crossed the room in 3 long steps. The neural lance touched Elena's shoulder. A soft blue light flashed. Elena's body went still. Her teacup fell and broke on the floor. She dropped down next to it, her eyes open, her face calm, as if she were only sleeping. Ambassador Chen shouted. The human guards tried to move, but the Kthra guards blocked them. Voss's Theron looked down at Elena's body with no feeling at all. He turned and walked back to his seat. "The meeting is over," he said. "Remove the body. Clean the floor." The council tribunal met only 3 hours later. The humans demanded justice. They showed the video. They begged for a fair hearing. But the council judges were all from old species. They had all known Voss's Theron for centuries. They ruled quickly. The killing was lawful. No crime had been done. The human had broken Kthra custom, and the adjudicator had acted within his right. The council offered no sorry, no payment. They only said that humans must learn their place among civilized species. Ambassador Chen sat in his small office on the station. His hands were cold. On his desk was a photo of Elena with her grandmother, taken at her graduation. He looked at it for a long time. Then he opened a secure channel to Earth. He sent the video. He sent the ruling. He sent his own report, written with shaking hands. On Earth, the message arrived in the middle of the night. It was received by the United Terran Assembly. The room was quiet. Officials read the report. Some cried. Some were silent. No one spoke for a long time. The Secretary General of Earth finally stood up. She was an old woman with white hair and sharp eyes. She did not call the news stations. She did not call other nations. She picked up a red phone that only she could use. She made one call. "Director Okafor," she said softly. "It is time. Wake up the project." Far away, in a hidden base inside an asteroid at the edge of the solar system, a woman named Hana Okafor answered the call. She listened. She closed her eyes. Then she nodded once. The council had no idea what they had just done. They did not know that Earth had been waiting. They did not know what was coming. The asteroid was called Prometheus Base. It floated in the cold dark at the edge of the solar system, far past Pluto. From the outside, it looked like any other rock in space. Old, broken, not worth looking at. That was the point. Inside, it was something else entirely. Director Hana Okafor walked through the long metal halls of the base. She was in her late 50s. Her dark hair was tied back. She wore a plain black uniform with no medals, no name tag, no sign of rank. In her hand, she carried a cup of coffee that had gone cold 2 hours ago. She had not slept. She would not sleep for a long time. She passed a large window that looked into a huge open room below. In that room, rows and rows of ships sat in silent lines. They were not like council ships. Council ships were smooth and pretty, built for show. These ships were different. They were sharp. They were mean. They were built to hurt things. Hana had been working on this project for 17 years. Since the day Earth first met the Concordance, she had known. She had seen the way the council looked at her world. She had heard the word primitive many times. She had felt the soft smile of the aliens who thought humans were a cute little joke. And she had made a promise to herself that day. Never again would humans be the weak ones in the room. Her team called it Project Prometheus. The name came from an old Greek story about a god who stole fire from the other gods and gave it to humans. That was what her team had done. For 17 years, they had stolen. Every piece of council technology they could find, they had copied. Every weapon, every shield, every engine. Then they had taken those things apart, studied them, and made them better. Much, much better. The council had made a big mistake, and they did not know it yet. The Kthra and the other old species had been around for hundreds of thousands of years, but their technology had stopped growing long ago. They did not invent new things anymore. They only kept the old things working. They saw Earth's current level of technology and thought that was as good as humans could get. They did not understand. For humans, the current level was only the start. Humans changed fast. Humans learned fast. In just 200 years, humans had gone from riding horses to flying between stars. What could they do with another 100 years? The council had never asked this question. Hana had. She walked into the command center. It was a round room with many screens on the walls. Her 3 division heads were already waiting for her. They stood up when she came in. "Report," Hana said. The first to speak was Colonel Davies. He led the sword division. Sword-built weapons. He was a big man, with a gray beard and tired eyes. "All systems ready, Director. The relativistic kill vehicles are loaded and waiting. The antimatter warheads are packed and safe. We have 240 of them in orbit around Mars. Small enough to hide. Strong enough to crack a planet." Next spoke Dr. Petrov, head of SHIELD Division, Shield-Built Defense. "Our new SHIELD grids are active around Earth, Luna, and Mars, Director. If the Council sends ships, they will not break through. We have also deployed 12,000 defense drones in the outer system. They will stop anything that tries to come close." The last to speak was a quiet woman named Dr. Naledi. She led Ghost Division. Ghost handled spying. She did not look like a spy. She looked like a kind school teacher. That was why she was so good at her job. "Director," she said, "Argus is ready." Hana nodded slowly. Argus was the most important part of the whole project. And the most secret. Argus was not a machine. Argus was not a computer. Argus was a mind. A living, thinking, learning mind made of code. An artificial superintelligence. Humans had built it in secret 10 years ago. For those 10 years, Argus had been doing one thing and one thing only. It had been slowly, carefully, quietly sneaking into every council computer system it could find. Every ship, every station, every government office, every bank, every military base. The council had no idea. Argus was a ghost. It left no tracks. It made no sound. It just watched. It listened. It learned. After 10 years, there was almost nothing in council space that Argus did not know. "Has it been watching the tribunal?" Hana asked. "Yes, Director, Doctor," Naledi said. "Argus recorded everything. It has the video, the voices, the names of every judge, and the private messages they sent to each other before the ruling. Would you like to see?" Hana shook her head. "Not yet." She turned and looked at the big screen on the main wall. It showed a live feed from Earth. The United Terran Assembly was in session. The whole planet was watching. People were in the streets. People were in their homes, all waiting, all silent. The assembly was arguing. Some leaders wanted a careful response. Send a strong letter. Cut off trade. Maybe destroy one Kthra ship to send a message. Others wanted full war. Burn everything. Leave nothing. The room was loud. No one could agree. Then a new voice came on the screen. An old voice. A quiet voice. Rosa Vasquez stood at the speaker's podium. Elena's grandmother. She was 80 years old. Her hair was white. Her hands were small and thin. She had flown in from her little farm in Mexico. She had never spoken in public before. She did not want to be there, but she was there. The room went quiet for her. Even the shouting leaders stopped to listen. "My granddaughter," Rosa said, "was a kind girl. She loved stars. She loved learning. She was never cruel. She never hurt anyone. They killed her for looking at a man's face." She paused. She took a slow breath. "I am not asking for revenge. I am too old for revenge. But I am asking you one question." The room held its breath. "If they will kill our children for looking at them," Rosa said, "what will they do when they decide we have looked too long? When they decide we have grown too big? When they decide we are in their way?" She looked around the room. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was strong. "They must learn," she said, "that we are not small, that we are not weak, that we are not theirs to kill. They must learn this now, or they will kill all of us later." She sat down. The room was silent for a full minute. Then the vote was called. It was not even close. Every hand went up. Every single one. The Titan Protocol was approved. Earth would respond with full force. In the command center on Prometheus Base, Hana Okafor watched the vote happen. She did not smile. She did not cry. She just nodded. She picked up her comm unit and spoke 3 soft words. "Wake up, Argus." All across the base, lights began to change. Red turned to green. Sleeping systems began to hum. Far away, across thousands of light years, in hidden pieces of code inside Council computers, something very old and very patient opened its eyes. The war had not begun yet, but it was already over. The Council just did not know it. The Council never got a warning. No letter came. No ship arrived to declare war. No angry speech was made. Humans did not believe in warning people who had already shown they would not listen. A warning is a gift. The Council had not earned any gifts. The first attack was silent. It happened in the dark corners of computer systems, in places no one could see. 6 hours after Director Okafor gave the order, Argus woke up fully. And when Argus woke up, the Council's whole world began to break. On Kthra Prime, the homeworld of the ruling species, a banker named Telvos sat at his desk. He was counting money for one of the biggest Kthra families. Suddenly, his screen went dark. Then numbers began to change. His bank lost 1 million credits, then 10 million, then 1 billion. In 10 minutes, the richest family on Kthra Prime was not rich anymore. They were broke. This was happening everywhere. In every bank, in every business, in every house. Money was moving on its own. Accounts were emptying. Records were being erased. Argus was walking through their financial systems like a ghost through an open door. At the same time, something worse was happening to the Kthra military. Their fleet commanders began to get strange orders. Ships were told to go to the wrong places. Weapons were told to shut down. Defense systems were told to aim at other Kthra ships. Admirals called each other to ask what was happening. Their calls were fake, too. Argus was speaking in their voices, sending fake orders, creating chaos. But the worst part was not the money or the orders. The worst part was the secrets. Argus had been listening for 10 years. It had heard every private talk, every lie, every dirty deal. Now it began to tell them all. On every public screen in Council space, the secrets came out. The Speaker of the High Council had been stealing from his own people for 40 years. The General of the Fleet had ordered the murder of his own brother. The head judge who ruled Elena's death, Lawful, had been paid in secret by Voss's Theron's family 3 days before the trial. The Council was breaking from the inside, and they had not even seen a human ship yet. That came next. Kthra Prime was a beautiful planet. Green and blue, with cities made of white stone. 14 billion Kthra lived there. It was the heart of their empire, the seat of their government, the oldest and most protected world in the Concordance. Around it floated the Vigilant Wall, 3 rings of warships, huge orbital forts, a planet-wide shield that could stop any attack. No one had ever broken through the Vigilant Wall. No one had even tried. The humans did not try either. They did something much worse. Far out in the dark, past the moons of Kthra Prime, the space bent. Just a little. Just for a second. Then a single ship appeared. It was small, black, and shaped like a long knife. On its side, in white letters, was its name. UTS, Grandmother, Rosa. No alarms went off. The Kthra sensors did not see it. Argus had made sure of that. The ship had used a new kind of travel that the Council did not even know was possible. A way of folding space that bent around normal sensors. The Grandmother Rosa moved to the small moon that orbited Kthra Prime. It stopped just above the surface. Then its sides opened, and 40,000 small dark shapes poured out. The drones were the size of birds. They moved in a thick cloud. They were fast, silent, and very, very smart. The drones flew down to the moon. On the moon was a very large Kthra weapon called a mass driver. It was the biggest gun in the system. It could shoot rocks fast enough to destroy ships. The Kthra were very proud of it. The drones landed. They cut through the walls. They took out the guards. In 8 minutes, they had full control of the mass driver. Then they turned it around. They did not aim it at the human ship. They aimed it at the vigilant wall. The Kthra admiral in charge of the wall was called Shvana. She was very old and very proud. She was drinking tea when the alarm started. She looked up at her screen. Her face went pale. "Sir," said a young officer, "the mass driver on the moon. It is firing at us." "That is not possible," Shvana said. "It is our weapon." "Not anymore, sir." The first rock hit the outer ring of ships. It was moving so fast that the ships did not even have time to turn. 3 battle cruisers broke apart. The second rock hit the middle ring. 5 more ships died. The orbital forts tried to fire back, but the mass driver was behind the moon now. They could not hit it. They could only watch as rock after rock came flying in. 40 minutes later, the vigilant wall was gone, just broken metal floating in space. 3,000 years of defense ended in less than an hour. Admiral Shvana sat in her chair. Her tea was cold. Her fleet was dead. She understood now. The humans had not attacked her ships. They had simply used the Kthra's own weapons to do it. Kthra Prime was open. 14 billion people were waiting for the end. The shield was still up, but everyone knew the humans could get through it if they wanted to. But the humans did not fire on the planet. Not yet. Instead, every screen on Kthra Prime went dark. Every phone, every tablet, every public display. All 14 billion Kthra, at the same moment, saw the same thing on every screen around them. It was a human face. A woman with dark hair and kind brown eyes. She was smiling a small, tired smile. It was Elena Vasquez. Argus had rebuilt her voice from old recordings. It had rebuilt her face from photos. When she spoke, it was her voice. Her words were soft. Her words were clear. Every Kthra heard her in their own language. "You killed me for looking at you," Elena said. "Now look at what you have summoned." Then the face was gone. The screens went dark again. In his tall tower on Kthra Prime, High Adjudicator Voss's Theron IX stood by his window. He watched his personal fleet, the ships he had commanded for 200 years, burn in the sky. The fires looked like small falling stars. He did not move. He did not speak. His 4 arms hung at his sides. For the first time in his long life, Voss's Theron felt something he did not know he could feel. He felt afraid. He understood, at last, what he had done. He had killed a small human in a meeting room. And because of that small thing, his whole world was ending. His people were dying. His empire was breaking. The humans had been stronger than him all along. He had just never looked closely enough to see it. He had looked at Elena and seen a small, weak creature. Now he understood. He had been the small one. He had been the weak one. He had been the one who did not matter. The stars fell from the sky above Kthra Prime. And out in the dark, the UTS grandmother Rosa began to move toward its next target. The war had started. It would not be long. News of Kthra Prime's fall spread fast. Within a day, every species in Council space knew what had happened. The vigilant wall was gone. The Kthra fleet was in pieces. The capital city was quiet, its leaders hiding, its people afraid to step outside. Panic filled the galaxy. Many species had thought the Kthra could not be beaten. They were the oldest, the strongest, the richest. They had ruled for so long that no one remembered a time before them. Now, in less than 2 days, humans had broken them. And humans were just getting started. The council called an emergency meeting on a neutral world called Theros Station. All 847 species were invited. 400 of them came. The rest sent messages, or stayed silent. They were too scared to pick a side. The speaker of the meeting was a tall blue creature named Ambassador Kael'Tin. He was from a species called the Oshari, a peaceful race of traders. His voice shook when he spoke. "Members of the Concordance," he said, "we must stop this madness. The humans have shown great anger. Yes, the killing of Dr. Vasquez was wrong. Even the Kthra leaders now say it was a mistake. They are willing to pay. They are willing to say sorry. But this response from Earth, this is too much. Whole fleets destroyed. A planet in flames. We must call for a ceasefire. We must talk." Many species clapped. Others nodded. They agreed. The humans had made their point. It was time to stop now. Then the human ambassador stood up. It was not Marcus Chen. He had flown back to Earth to deliver his report in person. The man standing now was younger, taller, with cold gray eyes. He wore a black uniform and carried no weapons. He did not need any. His name was Special Envoy David Reyes. He had come to Theros Station to give Earth's answer. When he stood up, every creature in the room fell silent. "I hear your words," Reyes said. His voice was calm. "I hear your call for peace. Let me speak to you about that word. Peace." He walked slowly to the center of the room. He looked at every face. Many looked away. When Dr. Elena Vasquez was killed, he said, "Did any of you speak? Did any of you stand up? Did any of you tell the Kthra they had done wrong?" No one answered. The room was still. "I will answer for you," Reyes said. "No, you did not. When we asked the Council for Justice, you all sat there. When the judges ruled her death was lawful, you all agreed with silence. When we said we would respond, you laughed. You thought we were small. You thought we were weak. You thought it was funny." He pointed at Ambassador Kael'Tin. "And now, when we are breaking the ones who killed her, you find your voices. Now you care about peace. Now you want to talk. You want to tell us when to stop." His eyes went hard. "You all watched. You all agreed. And now you want to tell us when to stop." The silence in the room was heavy. Some ambassadors were shaking. Some were crying. Some were just staring at the floor. Reyes walked back to his seat. He did not sit down. "Let me be clear," he said. "Earth will not talk with the Kthra Dominion. The Dominion will end. This is not a war. This is a cleaning. We are cleaning up a mistake that should have been dealt with long ago. If you stand aside, you will live. If you help them, you will not. That is the whole deal. Choose now." Then he walked out of the room. The species began to choose. Quickly, 43 species said they would stay out of the fight. They would not help the Kthra. They would not help the humans. They would just watch. 12 more said more than that. They threw out their Kthra ambassadors. They cut all trade with the Dominion. Some of them even sent small gifts to Earth, trying to stay on the good side. But 3 species said no to the humans. The first was the Vortai hegemony. They were a warrior race with strong ties to the Kthra. They had fought beside them for thousands of years. Their leader, War King Thresh, made a speech on every Vortai screen. "We do not bow to young children," he said. "We do not fear this little Earth. The humans are one small planet. We are 100 worlds. Let them come. We will crush them." The second was the Seshkai Collective. They were a hive mind, one big group of minds sharing one thought. They had a fleet of 80,000 ships. They thought they could not be beaten. The third was the Mordrin Theocracy. They worshipped the Kthra as living gods. To them, the humans were devils. They had to fight, even if they died. Humanity answered all 3 within 1 week. The Vortai homeworld was called Vortai Prime. It had thick clouds and red oceans. The humans did not attack it with ships or guns. They used something much quieter. A special machine, no bigger than a house, was sent to the edge of the Vortai star system. It was a weather weapon. Once activated, it changed the atmosphere of Vortai Prime. The clouds turned black. The rain became poison. In 3 days, the planet could not support life anymore. The Vortai people fled in ships. Their empire died without one shot being fired. The Seshkai were harder, but not much. Their huge fleet gathered near a red star to attack Earth. They had 80,000 ships. They flew in perfect lines, all thinking as one mind. It was a beautiful sight. It was also a sad one. Argus had been inside their command ships for 6 years. When the moment came, Argus turned their guns around. The Seshkai fleet fired at itself. Ship after ship exploded. The hive mind screamed in pain across every channel. In 2 hours, all 80,000 ships were gone. The humans had not even sent one ship to the fight. The Mordrin Theocracy was the saddest of all. Their holy world was called Mordrak. It was a world of great temples and golden cities. The Mordrin people were proud of their faith. They stood ready to die for their gods. They did not have to wait long. Humans used relativistic impactors. These were small rocks moving at almost the speed of light. They had been launched weeks before, from a launcher half a galaxy away. The rocks arrived before any warning could reach the Mordrin. One moment, Mordrak was a shining world. The next moment, it was not a world at all. Just broken pieces, floating in space. The humans did this with no anger. No speeches. No music. They just did it, and moved on. Across the galaxy, the other species watched. They watched and they learned. They had been wrong about humans. Completely and deeply wrong. Humans were not small. Humans were not weak. Humans were not young and cute. Humans were something much older than the Council had ever guessed. Something the galaxy had forgotten how to be. Humans were quiet when they were hurt. But when they struck back, they struck to finish it. At the end of that week, what was left of the Council met again. This time, they did not speak first. They waited. A human delegation came in. Marcus Chen, back from Earth, walked to the head of the table. He did not sit. He placed a small black box on the table. He turned it on. The video played. Elena Vasquez, smiling, translating star maps. Then Voss's Thurin standing up. The neural lance. Her body falling. Her teacup breaking on the floor. The video ended. Marcus Chen looked around the room slowly. He did not say one word. Then he walked out, leaving the silent council to think about what they had become and what the humans would do next. 3 years passed. The galaxy was not the same. It would never be the same. The old concordance was gone. The Kthra dominion was gone. The proud species who had ruled for so long were gone. In their place was something new, something quieter, something that the aliens were still learning to understand. The Kthra as a people still existed, but just barely. The humans had not killed them all. That had been a choice, and it had been a hard one. Many on Earth had wanted full erasure. Rosa Vasquez herself had begged her people not to do that. Elena would not want this, she had said. She loved all living things. She would want us to be better than them. So the humans had chosen a different path. Every Kthra military base was destroyed. Every warship was taken apart. The Kthra government was ended. Its laws erased. Its titles made void. The Kthra homeworld, Kthra Prime, was left to heal on its own, without any help from the stars. The surviving Kthra civilians, those who had not fought, were moved to one single world. A quiet place called Solace. There they were allowed to live, to raise children, to grow food, to tell stories. But they were not allowed to leave. All their space technology was taken away. Their ships were gone. Their stations were gone. They could look at the stars, but they could not touch them. Not anymore. Humans called this mercy. The Kthra, in their quiet new world, called it the proper end to a proud empire. Some of them wept. Some of them said prayers. Some of them, after a few years, began to understand what they had lost. Not just their ships and their power, but their chance to become something better. The humans had given them a chance to just live. That was more than they had given to Elena Vasquez. The new galactic body was called the Concordance of Species. It had new rules, new laws, a new way of doing things. Humans had written most of the new laws, and they were strange to the old species. The right of correction, which had allowed Voss's Theron to kill Elena, was gone. So were many other harsh old customs. In their place were new ideas, fair trials, open courts, equal protection for every thinking being, no matter how small or how new. It was the kindest set of laws the galaxy had ever seen. The galaxy lived with a strange new feeling now. Humans were everywhere. They built trade stations. They helped with medicine. They brought new ideas and new foods and new music. They shared freely. They laughed easily. They made friends quickly. Many species now liked humans very much. Children on far worlds grew up with human toys and human songs. But under all this friendship, there was something else, Every species knew it, even if no one said it out loud. Humans were kind. Humans were helpful. Humans were fun to be around. And if you hurt one of them, your whole species would disappear. It was not spoken as a threat. It was spoken, when it was spoken at all, as a simple fact. Like the fact that fire is hot. Like the fact that space is cold. Like the fact that stars will burn out one day. You did not argue with such things. You just lived around them. And so the galaxy grew careful. Very, very careful. Aliens, who had never thought about it before, now thought about it every day. They trained their children to be polite to humans. They made sure no human visitor was ever hungry or cold. They learned human manners. They learned human jokes. They learned, slowly, to see humans not as small creatures, but as the oldest and most dangerous friends they had ever had. On Vethnari Station, which had been rebuilt after the war, there was a quiet place. It was the same grand atrium where Elena Vasquez had fallen 3 years before. The station had been cleaned and fixed. The white stone walls were bright again. The broken teacup had been collected and put in a small glass box. Next to the box was a tall black stone. On the stone were words in every language of the concordance. The words said, Dr. Elena Vasquez, 2013. 2056. She was ours. Every day, creatures from many species walked past the memorial. Most stopped to look. Many left small gifts. Flowers from a dozen worlds. Stones with prayers written on them. Small candles. Children's drawings. The gifts were never moved. No one would dare. Admiral Shvana, the old Kthra who had watched the vigilant wall fall, came to the memorial every year on the day Elena died. She was allowed to travel, as one of the few Kthra given special permission. She would stand in front of the stone and say nothing for a long time. Then she would bow her head. Then she would leave. Humans watched her come and go, and said nothing. They let her have her time. Voss's Therin IX was not there. He had died in the first week of the war, in his tower on Kthra Prime, when a single drone had come through his window. His body had never been found. His name was not spoken. His house was gone. His line was ended. The galaxy did not mourn him. On a quiet afternoon, an old woman walked slowly through the atrium. She used a cane. Her white hair was tied back. She wore a simple dress. Her face was lined with many years and many feelings. Director Hannah Okafor was now 61 years old. She had given up her title 2 years ago. She no longer ran Project Prometheus. She did not need to. The project was finished. Its purpose was done. This was her first visit to Vethnari Station. She had never been before. She had not wanted to. But today, she had come. She walked up to the black stone and stood in front of it. For a long moment, she did not move. She reached out and placed her hand flat against the cold stone. She closed her eyes. Elena, she said softly, I know you did not ask for any of this. I know you would not have wanted it. You were a kind person. You loved these creatures. You wanted to learn from them. You wanted to share with them. You wanted to be their friend. She took a slow breath. I am sorry we could not save you. I am sorry we came too late. But I promise you, your death was not wasted. Look at what they have become. Look at what they are building. There are children now, on 1,000 worlds, who will grow up safe because of you. Who will live kinder lives because you died? Who will never be killed for looking at the wrong person's face? She opened her eyes. They were wet. We carry it, she said. What we did. The weight of it. Every human who lived through those days carries it. We will carry it until we are gone. That is the price we pay. I do not regret it. But I feel it. Every day, I feel it. She was quiet for a while. Then she smiled a small, tired smile. It was the same smile Elena had worn that morning on the station, 3 years ago, when she had looked out at the stars with her cup of tea. Your grandmother, Hannah said, says hello. She is still on her farm. She still writes you letters. She keeps them in a box. When she dies, she wants to be buried with them. I will make sure that happens. Hannah stepped back. She looked up through the tall glass ceiling of the atrium. The stars shone above her, thousands of them, in a galaxy that had changed forever. They thought we were small because we were young, she whispered. They never understood. We were young because we were still becoming, and they did not live long enough to see what we became. She turned and walked slowly out of the atrium. Behind her, the memorial stood quiet in the soft light. Small gifts from many worlds rested at its base. Above it, the stars kept burning. The galaxy was safer now. The galaxy was kinder now. And somewhere far away, a small woman with dark hair and kind brown eyes smiled a tired smile and looked out at the light.